Hey everybody, welcome to the Blizzard Watch podcast. We got a good crew of people here this week, minus myself. I'm here, but you don't have to care about that. But we've got both Liz and Joe, and Phil Ulrich is here as our special guest. So now we're just going to move straight into saying hi to them. Hi Joe, hi Liz, hi Phil.
Hello.
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 So now that we've got that out of the way, I want someone to explain the deal with puzzling cartel chips, because they're still not in the game? I thought that was a thing they announced previously. What's going on with the puzzling cartel chips?
That's what we'd like to know.
Well, somebody answer it, please.
Okay, I guess that'll be me. So they were originally a part of the renowned track for the raid. For people who don't remember what they are, it's basically a little item that was way high in the raid renowned track that basically said you get to just go pick a piece of loot now. You got 2 of them. There was a lot of feedback in the PTR that this was going to take too long, which it would. It would have been week 17 and 19 of raiding, respectively. And so Blizzard was like, okay, we're going to take them off the renowned track. We're going to find another place to put them, and you'll know more soon. That was the beginning of February. Literally nothing else was said until the end of February when Ian Hazacostas and Maria Hamilton did an interview with Nagura, and Ian basically said, yeah, they're coming in 11.15. We're trying to find a way to get them out that'll be, quicker and fair to everybody, because I think they also kind of want to make these more accessible for alts as a catch-up mechanism or for people who don't raid, et cetera, et cetera. And then that was the last we heard about them literally until today. 11.15, for the record, goes live next week, and we had heard nothing until today about this pretty premium feature. And what we've heard is we'll tell you more once it's launched. So that's the deal. We don't know. We know exactly as much as we did at the beginning of February when we knew nothing.
Is this causing a nostalgia for anyone else? Like, I'm really feeling the Gates of Ankh-Raj right about now.
It's certainly kind of a weird misstep for a Blizzard that I would say has become better at both the cadence of things and also communications of things. 2 months of radio silence on a pretty important feature of the patch. Probably going into 3 because it's going to be the 22nd before we maybe find out anything. And then just like with the weird time gating upcoming with the patch, I'm not sure what happened with 11.15. They kind of stumbled here a little. So
I'm still kind of trying to figure out what they're even going to let us use them for at this point. Like, is it just going to be more upgrading gear? What's going on?
If they follow the pattern that they have in the past, they will give you any piece of loot from the Liberation of Undermine of your choice. They will be kind of their own separate upgrade track that goes all the way up to the top of Mythic. So they can be a way for people who only raid Heroic, for example, to get gear that is all the way up to Mythic without doing not needing to do Mythic Plus. But they're still good when they come out. It's great for picking up especially very rare items. For example, the one-armed bandit, the giant sentient slot machine, drops a very coveted and very rare trinket called the House of Cards. We have seen one in the entire time we've been raiding the Liberation.
My alt got one out of the loot box today.
Perfect. That's where you want it.
I think every DPS class wants one of these. I don't know about healers. Joe, is this a good one for healing?
Healers not so much, or at least not Resto Shaman. We generally want Mr. Pick Me Up and the Eye of Kazan.
Yeah, it's pretty much
and Eye of Kazan
for DPS though.
Eye of Kazan's another one that practically is best in slot for every class. So we've got these 2 trinkets that most players are going to want. And those can be really hard to get. They're really hard to get.
Yeah, they're very rare. And when they do drop, there's a ton of competition because everyone else in your raid also wants it.
Yep.
All right. I feel like we've discussed this enough. Next, so we can talk about something far, far more important. Noblegarden's up in a week as we're recording this. I believe it starts on the 21st and goes to the 28th. So it's right around the same time that we might be finding out about the puzzling cartel chips, because that's dropping on the 22nd, so right around the same time. And apparently you can get another color for your duck disguise.
I believe there are 6 colors for your duck disguise.
I'm just going to sit here and think about the duck disguise for a while. You guys continue.
So Did they add the duck disguise last year? I want to say it was last year, but it might have been the year before.
It was
I thought it was
Dragonflight's 10.15 patch, whenever that was.
Okay, so it's been a little while, but it's so doing the Noblegarden quest, you get a duck disguiser in one of 6 colors, which is it lets you disguise yourself as a duck of that color. So great, you can be a duck. This is amazing, but you have to choose one color of duck. If you do it again on an alt, the colors are only available. They're character locked, so you can't just get 6 alts and everyone do the quest and get a different color of duck. You've got to do all of the ducks on one character if you want all of the colors, which, as a group of people that is maybe slightly obsessed with transmog, I don't think I'm only speaking for myself, it does feel very important to have every color of duck, and currently, that's a 6-year project on a single character, so definitely pick up a new color of duck this year, whether it's like super important to you or only like mildly important, because if you don't get it this year, you gotta wait another year.
Yep.
So you never know. You never know when they're going to decide to put the duck transformer into a puzzle, and then you're going to need a specific color of duck to unlock a motorcycle or something.
Yeah, and plus, the color that I didn't get that I wish I had gotten, so I'm trying to get maybe this year. I'll actually be logging on just to do Noblegarden. Is the one that has like a cravat or neck thing of green. It looks like it's wearing like one of those bandanas around the neck, like it's some kind of like revolutionary duck. And I don't think it is. I do think it's a duck, but it's got this really colorful crest of green around its neck, and it's a brown and white duck otherwise, with a really nice brown beak, and they all have a very nice look to their faces. In real life, real ducks are incredibly vicious and sadistic, but these look cute and fun, so that's good. I like cute and fun ducks better than murder ducks, which is actually what ducks really are.
Yeah, these are incredibly adorable ducks that everyone can enjoy.
Yep, and they have the best part is that they have like WoW needs to put weird stuff on animals to feel good about itself. Like we have tigers, but all tigers have to have saber teeth for no reason. Or we've made a moose, but it's even moosier. The ducks have the duck bill, but then there's like this piece of bone that just grows up from the duck bill and goes over in front of their faces. And I don't know why, but it works. Like my word, they're cute. I don't get it. Like I should not find this animal as cute as I do, but it's just absolutely adorable. I don't know. But regardless, yeah, that's Noblegarden this year. It's still pretty much the same otherwise. You go out and you do eggs and so forth. But yeah, you can get yourself one of the mini ducks. So
I don't think there are any changes this year. So same thing. Just pick a new color. You can pick a new color this year.
And so now, go ahead.
If you've switched mains, you can pick a color for the first time and start your 6-year journey to collecting all of the duck colors.
Oh, I'm hosed.
Yeah, it is one of those things you hear it and you're like, yikes.
No, Phil has a nasty tendency of changing alts like people change their clothes.
Pretty much every raid tier for a while, except for Dragonflight, so at least I know who probably has my duck disguiser's one color. But
there you go.
Yeah.
So the other thing we got going on is in War Within patch 11.1.5, we're going to have like a new kind of scenario called Nightfall, which is sort of... Go ahead.
I do have a question about this one, and I'm thinking you'll be able to answer it, Phil. Blizzard calls this a scenario. Is it a scenario? I thought it was an open world event.
6 of one, half dozen of the other. The technology that they used for scenarios back in Mists of Pandaria is the exact same one they've used for every open world thing since.
Okay.
So,
yeah, this feels Warfront in terms of how it works.
It's not even like that. It's basically like the Super Bloom and the Emerald Dream, or any number of other open world events where you do tasks to fill up a bar. Time rifts. That's what I was trying to think of while I was rambling. Time rifts are the most equivalent thing. You do tasks for an NPC to fill up a bar, and then a boss appears and you kill it, and you get a reward based on how many of you were doing the tasks instead of just running around smacking enemies.
Oh, like the Legion thing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but regardless, we now know what treasures you're getting for that.
Yeah, there's some fun stuff in there. A lot of it is cosmetic. So transmog people who wanted yet another color of the Arathi leveling set. Here you go. There's two. There's two.
I do.
Here. There is there's one now that is primarily cream and brown with gold accents. And then there is another one available complete with matching weapons from a different vendor that is like a dark purple and black set. It seems like you're taking your commendation medals over to somebody who works for the Order of Nightfall and trading it into them instead. But if you're ready to kill Nerubians, here you go. And there's another
faction too, right?
Yep, it is a sub faction of the Halifal Arathi called the Flames Radiant. You'll see some familiar faces from Merildar. They're camped out to the west of there around this scenario.
Do they also give you stuff, or is it from somebody else?
It's pretty much just them. This is it's a self-contained event with its own renown track, its own NPCs, and everything is tied to levels in that. Levels in the new renown track will also let you buy stuff from those vendors. So it's all pretty self-contained over there.
Also, these rune things. What are these about? Like gain void ritual? Is that part of the? It's only through the season, or what?
The void ritual stuff is coming later in Return to Horrific Visions.
Alrighty. I was a little confused because it's getting listed all at the same time. All right, cool. I feel like pretty much covers that then, and I'm really happy that we're going to get to do stuff with the Nightfall and Nerubians still. I feel like we're supposed to not be killing Nerubians anymore, but if you want us to kill more Nerubians, I'm not going to argue with you.
Some of them are still avoiding this.
These are specifically like the last of Queen Anzarec's loyalists who are kind of basically staging almost like a suicide attack on Halifal. You can tell they're not really planning it through because they're not doing like every other Nerubian and waiting for Belladar to go dark first. They're literally just attacking every hour.
Yeah, it's definitely got a little bit of, it feels weird, but it does have a little bit of story to it, which is like these are the last of Queen Anzarec's forces, and they're just kind of leaderless at this point. Don't have a strong guiding force, and it's just like, okay, let's go after these guys. What better things do we have to do? May as well.
Void Senpai, notice me, as they run into their death.
Void Senpai has not noticed you, nerd.
No, Void Senpai definitely does not notice people. All right, right here we've got a stage direction in these notes that makes me happy because now Joe will have to complain more. Joe, you want to complain about stealth buffs to Mythic Plus bosses.
Yeah, one in particular. We were talking about this in our guild Discord, and I didn't know it was the thing until I read it, and it made me irrationally angry, or maybe rationally angry. I don't know. You get to be the judge of it. So with the patch and balancing, apparently they're making, in particular, Dark Flame Clef's Candle King boss much harder for healers. If you've ever done this as a healer, that fight uses words that I cannot say currently during our recording without pushing this into an adult rating. As you get to higher keys, it is an absolute nightmare to heal because there are so many things that could possibly go wrong with it. And yes, I know that you can say that about a lot of bosses, but it is a very healing intensive boss. And especially compared to the rest of the dungeon, it's a pretty large spike. And the problem is it requires a lot of movement, and most of the healing classes don't deal with movement very well. And so what they're doing here, or what they did, is there's a healing debuff that, or a healing absorb that previously went on a single player. Probably didn't really notice it if you were healing. You would just heal them up and move on with your life. Now it's going to apply to everybody. Why? like that is my question. Like, why make that change now? Especially when you're pushing into higher keys. Do you like, I'm really curious if they felt that boss was not performing the way they wanted it to somehow. But yeah, like stuff like this is weird, and it's not noted anywhere. It's just a thing that happened, and it's not.
It's apparently because it's a bug fix. It was supposed to go on everyone to begin with, and sometimes it just wouldn't apply to anyone, which made it even less noticeable.
Yeah, which again, okay, and that's great, but it's like still,
but why? Yeah.
But why? Like, you have all this data now of all these people that have been doing it for however long, and now it explains if it was a bug that they fixed. It now explains why sometimes that pull was just god awful for no apparent reason. Well, apparently there was a reason. I don't know. Like, stuff like this irritates me. Like, go back, look at the people that have done the content, and maybe don't fix the bug. Maybe go back to the way that was already hard enough as it was. I don't know. Little bit of a complaint, but something to note if you're doing the Dark Flame Cleft as a healer, that expect that boss to hurt and kind of stink a little bit more. That's it. That's all I got.
Well, now that we know that Joe is upset about this, and I'm not going to be healing any of this content. So for me, it's like, if I even come back, it'll mostly be Noblegarden. But if I do any Mythic Plus stuff, I'll be DPS because I'm not crazy enough to heal those things. But I do want to mention the next thing on our list because it's actually really cool. Mists of Pandaria Classic is now in beta testing or will be soon. TM.
Soon.
Sign-ups are now, though.
It's not, yeah. Sign-ups are now. Beta testing is some indeterminate time in the future.
I find myself I'm really nostalgic for Mists of Pandaria in general. Both because they did remists and everybody leveled through it volcanically fast. So I'm curious as to how they can release it in a classic state and have people not be immediately pining for remists. But also because just in general, I just liked Pandaria. I thought it was a good expansion.
Fantastic expansion.
Yeah, I had a good time playing it. I remember at the time I was in a guild. I was in a horde guild for Mists of Pandaria for the opening bit of it, and I just remember riding around on my motorcycle with the night elf. Actually, it was the blood elf was the one who had the motorcycle. I'll just tell everyone it was Anne. Hi everybody. Anne had a motorcycle. She would make me get in the little passenger seat thing, the sidecar, on my Tauren warrior. So I'd look utterly ridiculous. And yes, utterly was a joke for you guys. And I just had a lot of fun. It was a lot. I liked the raids. I think the only one I didn't like is Siege of Orgrimmar because it seemed to last 3.5 years. Not literally. But yeah. No, I don't think it actually did, but it felt like it did. But regardless, other than that, and I thought it was good. I just felt like it was forever. So I'm going to sit here and say, first off, I'm interested in this. Secondly, I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know how it's going to feel as a classic experience. What do you all think about this? Are you going to sign up for the beta? What are you going to do here?
I would love to. I just don't know that I have time. I loved Mists, though. Like, Mists was one of my favorite expansions that WoW has released. So I would love to maybe do it, but also, again, time management.
Liz?
I think the interesting thing about doing Mist Classic, Cataclysm Classic felt weird because it's like, okay, we're just overwriting the old world with the new world. And isn't that why we got Classic in the first place? So we could explore and play in the old world? Well, now it's a Cataclysm world. Well, one of the things about Mists of Pandaria is there was a lot of phasing in the game that you couldn't go back. So it's like the Veil. Once the Veil was destroyed, it was destroyed. Even in remists, we did not go back to the original Veil. I mean, it did get worse later with N'Zoth, but you couldn't go back. That was one of those things where change came to Pandaria and it came forever. And so this is an opportunity to go back and go through that story experience for the first time if you haven't done it before. So I do think there's value in that, and maybe more value than there was in Cataclysm in the first place, because there is some content there that you can no longer experience. The legendary cloak quest, I believe, is completely gone. I believe all of that's gone.
Yeah, and they even got rid of the need for it, didn't they? Yeah,
and all of the Veil stuff, you can do the quests, but the Veil is the Veil. The Veil is the Veil as it is today. So I think it's a good one to bring back, and this really is one of the best expansions WoW has ever done. The storytelling was great. Pandaria is a gorgeous place. The story was great. I think the expansion is really soured by Siege of Orgrimmar at the end, which just stretched on forever. So the whole thing may feel a lot better if Blizzard just spaces out the content evenly. That might feel like a whole new game. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm in the same boat as Joe. It's going to be hard to find time to play all of these things. That's the real challenge here. Where are the hours in which I am going to do this? But I'm excited.
Okay, Phil, you got anything?
Nothing really more than that. I don't think I'm going to sign up to beta test it, but man, I'll probably go back and play it just because I'm always nostalgic for Mists. I love that expansion so much.
I really felt like a lot of people didn't give it like the credit it deserved at the time. It was a lot of the Kung Fu Panda jokes. And
yeah,
I mean, first off, it's not like Kung Fu Panda came out after the first time the Pandara were mentioned in Warcraft.
Yeah, and that's the same argument people use. Oh, they're just capitulating the Chinese market. Pandarans pre-existed the Chinese market for WoW because it pre-existed WoW. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Well, plus, I mean, it's also, in a way, it's tricky doing something with Panda on the Chinese market. Chinese take that seriously. It's like, you know how you can't, like the Forsaken in China.
You can't have skulls in China.
bony.
Skeletons don't exist in Chinese media as far as that goes.
They're just like kind of gray zombies. They don't have anything like leaking or pointing out of them or anything. And you have to be real careful with depictions of pandas in China because they're serious about it. So it's not necessarily a good thing to do for your bottom line. It worked out because they took the time to not have the pandas do anything particularly bad. But yeah, it's a thing. So I don't know. I didn't feel like it was. I just always felt that was like a very dismissive and pointless response because Pandaria, Mists of Pandaria and the Pandaria in general was actually really complex and a lot of cool stuff happens. A lot of like the whole deal with like the Jade Serpent and the Horde and Alliance fighting and how that all fell out is like pretty sophisticated for World of Warcraft, quite frankly. WoW usually isn't very good at nuance.
It was one of the first times that WoW kind of looked at itself and said, "Is war bad?
Are we the baddies?" Yeah, very much so.
Zeus in the corner with his arms crossed, going, "Yes, go home."
And then you get to that Jade statue, and it's like you get to that point in the story, and you're like, oh yeah, we are. Wow,
we're the baddies.
We're the baddies. Yeah, and that hits you, or you could just never do those quests, and it's all fine.
I thought it was fascinating that they basically took that whole idea of not just are we the bad, are we the bad guys here, but also just that idea of, we've come and we've made everything worse, and now we're leaving. It's like, wow.
My job here is done.
We do that a lot,
you didn't do anything.
But we do that a lot, but it's not always. We don't always just really drive the point home. We're like, okay, things are great. We're moving on now and forgetting any of this ever happened.
Look, we're leaving so we don't make this any worse at this point.
Maybe that's the story.
You've got a glowing tree. I'm sure that's going to fix it. Right? The ghost of the Emperor seems to think this glowing tree is going to do the job, and I feel like we're going to just let the glowing tree have its chance because I don't think it could do much worse than the Veil currently is. It's like, why did we help them excavate the heart of an old god? In retrospect, why did we do that?
Basic campfire for War Chief. Come on.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's coming. I'm interested. I like everyone else so far in this podcast. I don't know when I'll find the time, but hey. But next thing up is a little news for Diablo, and it is something that I noticed and felt a little annoyed that I actually already owned them. But Diablo 3 and Reaper of Souls are now on Xbox Game Pass. A lot of things are on Game Pass that you might not expect. But yeah, Blizzard's been rolling stuff out ever since it got purchased. The stuff has been popping up on Game Pass. I think PC Game Pass has like StarCraft, the original StarCraft. We've seen the Xbox Game Pass has gotten Diablo 2, I think. Am I wrong? I know Diablo 4 is on there. And now they're getting Diablo 3. Sure. Maybe Diablo 2 is next. It would make sense. But regardless,
I do know the thing about playing Diablo 4, if you're playing it on Game Pass, is the expansion is not on Game Pass. So if you want to play the expansion, you would still have to buy the expansion.
Yeah, they do that with other things too. It's
yeah.
It's definitely to a certain degree. It's like, ooh, I know you like this, so here's a taste. Now quickly give us your money. But I mean, it's still cool that, the entirety of Diablo 3 is going to be there. If you've not played Diablo 3 somehow, I don't know how you managed it, but if you somehow have not played them, you can now go and play the whole thing. It's the game and expansion on Game Pass. So you can just play the whole thing on Game Pass if you have not tried it yet. I think that's cool. I own it already. So for me, it's not that useful because I actually think I played Diablo 3 more than I would have otherwise because consoles existed. Both Diablo 3 and Diablo 4, in my opinion, feel better on console.
They play amazingly on console. The only problem with them on console is particularly in Diablo 4, which has more social features and more grouping. It's essentially an MMO. And it is really hard to communicate with people on a console because they don't have keyboard support. So it's I'm going to spend 5 minutes selecting the letters with my tiny console controller, and then y'all have already killed like 5 bosses.
I mean, you can hook a keyboard to a PS5, but then that's just inconvenient.
You can, and I do, except if you're on your console, the game itself does not recognize the keyboard.
No, that's on Diablo.
That's on Diablo, and they're actually adding keyboard support this year for. It's on their roadmap. But so to use a keyboard to type stuff in Diablo, you got to use your controller. You open the chat window, and then you open the dial, like the chat entry thing.
Yeah, you have to literally select it, move the thing back and forth.
So it's like two clicks to open it up, and then you have the keyboard on screen, and that's PlayStation interface, not Diablo interface. The PlayStation interface recognizes a keyboard you have plugged in, so you can type, but you can't hit enter and send it through that interface because Diablo doesn't recognize that interface. So you've got to move back to your controller, and it's a couple of clicks to hit send on the controller. So you're doing this shuffle, like, okay, controller, open chat, open chat entry, keyboard, type, controller, send message, and it's like, it is so awkward. So if I'm ever in Diablo 4 and I need to talk to people, I have my laptop and I'm typing in Discord because it's less complicated to have my laptop sitting next to me than to type using an external keyboard.
It's weird here because the Xbox actually did something weird. I don't know if they still sell this peripheral, but they did make it for the previous Xbox.
The adaptive.
It's a little keyboard that you just plug into the bottom of your controller.
Oh yeah,
and now you have a keyboard down there.
Kind of wanted one.
Oh, interesting.
I got that for Titanfall.
Listen,
when Titanfall 2 came out, my wife got me Titanfall 2, and she got me that for Christmas one year. And now that we're on the new Xbox, it still plugs into the new controller. I just took it off my old controller, plugged it into new controller. It's got support, so I can do that. I can actually type using that. The Xbox system recognizes it because the Xbox system is literally just Windows. It's just Windows. It's just not.
And I would like it noted that Sega did this before anybody else back in the day.
Yes, we know the Dreamcast is like the future, dude. We know. I wish that the Dreamcast had continued, quite frankly.
And then Nintendo
trying to type on the PS5 though makes me really glad the PS5 natively supports Discord voice chat.
Very much so. But I was also going to say, Nintendo did something that I wish modern console makers would like bring back. The GameCube.
Is it the GameCube?
Yes. The ASCII keyboard controller for the Nintendo GameCube. It literally had a QWERTY keyboard in the center of a GameCube controller at full scale. It was
awful.
No, it was great. What are you talking about?
Well, it was great. It was great for PSO.
They're gonna fight.
That's why
go.
I imported one specifically for Phantasy Star Online because you could only get it in Japan. It was great for it.
Like you have like a little BlackBerry keyboard in the middle of your controller.
Oh no! A full size ASCII keyboard in your lap.
Full size actual keyboard.
It's like imagine a keyboard with controller stuff on the ends of it.
Please,
it's like
please look in
podcast
podcast chat.
They took a keyboard and basically cut a GameCube controller in half and glued it to the sides, and that's what you got.
Okay, well that's definitely one way to play. I support you in your endeavors,
and they still work.
They do.
I mean, you don't often have use to plug one of those into anything, but yeah.
Well, no. So like you can use okay, I'm sorry. This is one of those things. They make an adapter for it that allows it to plug into modern day computers if you don't have the ASCII ports. But if you have the ASCII ports, it will actually take it as a regular input for both a controller and a keyboard. And so you can play certain games like Phantasy Star Online or Phantasy Star Online 2 with this device still to this day. It is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
You know what I want to know is, because we know that you can connect a GameCube controller to a Switch. When Diablo 4 inevitably comes to the Switch 2, can we then plug this old GameCube controller in and solve our problems with communication once and for all?
Please.
We're strange people.
This has been the podcast of Joe talks about strange things on pre-show and finds a way to do it on main show too. I apologize for nothing.
Regardless, though, if you haven't played Diablo 3 for whatever reason, you're curious about it, you can now get it complete on Xbox Game Pass, and you can play it. And I consider that a good thing because I still think Diablo 3 is one of the best Diablo games. To this day, it's in some ways I like it better. I like it better than either D2 or D4. In other ways, I like D2. Go ahead, Liz.
The gameplay is really great. It's a really slick game. It is fun and fast-paced, and it is like the epitome of I just want to smash some demons in the face. That is the game. This is the game for you if that's all you want to do. Gonna smash some demons, pop up some big numbers on the screen, and then I'm just gonna keep doing it until my hands hurt from all of that clicking. That's the game.
Seasons work. Yeah, and the seasons work a lot better in D3, in my opinion.
Yeah. They don't have a battle pass to grind through for one, so that does make them. Yeah.
I can't wait in like 20 years when instead of battle passes, we've got you put it like some eye drops in and you have ads beamed directly into your brain, and people are like going on about how quaint it is that this thing still has look at how quaint it is. It's got this battle pass mechanic. It's crazy. Okay, Joe, you wanted to talk about this, but you said you don't know much about it. However, Overwatch 2 director shares more about Stadium game mode, which is a PvE thing for Overwatch.
Yeah,
what do you know about it?
Well, this is the game that we talked about where, and again, I haven't had a chance to look into this because the news sort of dropped on it a little bit before podcast and time. Who has time? But Overwatch 2 keeps talking about adding this customizable game mode called Stadium. It's a third-person camera viewpoint, special powers and items that can be used to upgrade your heroes between rounds. Best of 7 grudge match is going to be a permanent thing in Overwatch 2, right? This is going to be a new game mode. It's going to be a new everything. This is where you're going to get to have like customizability of your heroes and over-the-top powers that completely change how they play the game. It's not quite normal mode, but it's kind of got some roots in there as well. So I don't know much more about it. It's going to be interesting to see what they're actually doing with it. There's what it plays like, how it actually works, and there's a limited number of heroes that are currently available for Stadium mode. So I think you have Diva, Junker Queen, Orisa, Reinhardt, and why can I never remember the Russian with the bubbles? Oh my god, Zarya. Yep. And then you have Ashe, Cassidy. Wow, names are hard. Our resident ninja, May, Reaper, and Soldier 76 for the year.
You mean Genji?
Genji, thank you. And then your random smattering of healers with Mercy and Lucio taking up residence, as long as some of the newer faces like Anna. And they're going to their plan is to add more. Their plan is to add more maps with different types, because there's push, control, and clash maps that you can have on there. And talking about the different things that you can do to transform, what your characters do or what your heroes do. So we'll see. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I do like the fact that I'm watching them try stuff, because they understand their market share is shrinking. And that means they get to be adventurous with their game modes and what they do. And I'm all for that, because experimentation breeds creativity, makes cool stuff happen. And Blizzard has made cool stuff happen over the years by experimentation. Maybe we're going to get something more here with that.
I do think it's interesting to point out, we covered this before, but I do think we should mention a lot of this stuff is stuff that was developed during the time that they were going to have a PvE mode for the game.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is taking that stuff and changing it around to work in PvP. Because Stadium mode's still a PvP mode. It's just one where you can watch it, which I think is weird, but sure.
You just have a third-person perspective of your character instead of a first-person perspective. So yeah, it's a different way of looking at things. I think it's pretty cool, because one of the things in Overwatch, one of the big rewards is skins. But you're in first person all the time. You can't look at how cool you look all the time. So
it's one of the things that used to bug me about Cyberpunk.
From that alone, a third-person perspective, kind of nice. but it also very much changes up the way you play because you're used to having this direct line of sight. So it's like you're aiming, you can see directly where you're going. And third person is going to shake it up. I think it's going to feel like a very different game.
Yeah, and I mean, again, experimentation is good, and I'm sure people will have a ton of fun with it.
Yeah. This is launching in Season 16, which is coming pretty soon, I think. I do not believe we may have a date for it, but I'm not sure when it is.
Yes, I'm sure it's somewhere in there, but I cannot find it at first glance. And again, hang
on, April 22nd. So that is actually extremely soon.
Oh, well, there you go. 12 days, 27th, right? Or 22nd.
Today's
Second.
1 week. 1 week from recording.
There you go. After you log on and do the Nightfall scenario once and go, oh, that's all that was in the patch, then you can go play Overwatch.
So yeah, we now have other things to talk about, unfortunately, or fortunately, I know. I'm gonna mention one that's not in here, but I'm gonna do it at the end. So first off, Guild Wars is 20 years old this month.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just makes me feel simultaneously old and also somewhat optimistic about the future, because it feels like games just live forever or die like immediately nowadays. And Guild Wars is really deserving of being a 20-year-old game. I don't think people understand. Guild Wars came about at a time where it looked like World of Warcraft was just going to eat the entire universe of MMOs that were fantasy based. And those little scrappy, people who'd been in other game companies who are now working for ArenaNet came out with Guild Wars, and now we've got the second Guild Wars is out, and there's all sorts of stuff going on, and it's still here. And that's really great, even as somebody who's never been able to play Guild Wars for more than a month before I had to stop. Usually because of life stuff, not because the game was bad. And I actually think Guild Wars in some ways is really great.
Another unusual thing about Guild Wars is it was a very early MMO that had no subscription fee. So you bought the box and then you just played the MMO, which it's more common now for having games that are free to play, but at the time it was very unusual to have an MMO without a subscription fee.
Yeah, it was. I think.
And now World of Warcraft is very unusual for being an MMO with a subscription fee. So we've totally flipped.
It's got the sub fee that it had when it came out. Like, has it ever gone up?
Yes.
When did it go up? Because I don't remember the last time
ago. I think it was like an adjustment for like your region or something like that. I don't think it actually increased.
Yeah, it occasionally changes in other countries based on currency.
Yeah,
but it's been largely the same here for a long time.
Yeah, I think it started at it was always 15 or something like that, and then or 15 US. And then if you did pay in advance or bundles or whatever it was, you got deals off on it. Now we have our 6-month subscription, our year subscription. We back then used to be able to buy 3-month game cards, 60-day game cards, not stuff like that, where you'd get discounts from vendors and stuff like that. I remember GameStop used to run deals on that all the time. But otherwise, largely the subscription was largely the same. It's one of those things that I maintain that had WildStar been a free game instead of a subscription-based game, it likely would have done better at the start as opposed to starting as a subscription game and then trying to lean into free to play, but that's a whole other story. But Guild Wars does it great, and Guild Wars has been doing it since day one. So Guild Wars being 20 years old, and then giving rise to Guild Wars 2, which has one of the coolest classes in an MMO as far as I'm concerned, with the Necromancer, which is just a ton of fun to play. Same thing. You don't have to have a subscription. You can pay for extra premiums and stuff like that. You just buy the expansions, you buy the content, or you buy the questing experience, essentially, which is really, really cool. And I remember when my first experience with that, I'm sorry, I'm on a tangent, but my first experience with buying content-based purchases instead of paying a subscription fee was Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings Online, when you first when you started doing that, when they went to a free to play model instead of a subscription based model and doing that, I thought it was the greatest thing ever. It's oh, I want to do the Mines of Moria. Well, here's my $10. Sweet, into the mines I go because I want to be a dwarf. I don't know. It is interesting to see Guild Wars turning 20 years old and see its legacy, especially as one of the as far as am concerned, one of the best known free-to-play games in Western culture.
And playing straight up, it's a game that has like a really expansive lore behind it.
Yeah.
And some interesting stuff that they've done. Even, we talk a lot about games that do like persistent worlds versus, the dynamic worlds. Guild Wars managed to be both. A lot of stuff happened and a lot of things changed over the course of Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2. And a lot of it happened in game. Like it's not all stuff that happened before you ever started playing. A lot of it happened during the expansions and so forth.
And it carries over into Guild Wars 2. And Guild Wars 2, the expansions, like the stories carry on. And like it literally changes like sometimes the geography of the world. It's really neat to see.
Yeah, and it is also... Go ahead, Liz.
One of the interesting things about Guild Wars as a franchise is that Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2, they take place at a distant time from each other. So, like, think about if we had done something like this in Warcraft, and you had a World of Warcraft that was like 10,000 years ago when all of these big, huge things were happening. And then you had our current World of Warcraft that's the modern era of Warcraft. Guild Wars has done something kind of like that. I don't think it's as big as 10,000 years, but you have Guild Wars 1, which is
250 years, right?
So you kind of have these different eras in the different games. So they have the same DNA. They're set in the same world, but they aren't the same. It's not just a sequel that it's like, okay, we're carrying on in the same world. It's things change in 250 years.
Yeah, and it's something that I think a lot of people have mentioned over the years wanting to see for other games. I do want to jump to the Capcom Fighting Collection because I want to talk about Plasma Sword. You guys remember Plasma Sword? Am I the only person who played Plasma Sword? Because I feel like I'm the only one who's excited about Plasma Sword. We should talk about what this is before I just say Plasma Sword again. Capcom tends to have put out a lot of fighting games, and they just released, I don't know, it's a bundle. The only place I've seen it is a bundle, but I think they might just have it out by itself. Pre-order for the Fighting Collection 2, which has a lot of, some of the best fighters that they put out. For instance, the Capcom versus SNK and Capcom versus SNK 2 games, big favorites for a lot of people. There's the Capcom Fighting Evolution game. I never played that one, but I heard a lot of people are like nuts about it. Street Fighter Alpha 3. I didn't know that there was an Alpha 3 for Street Fighter. I kind of went from Street Fighter 2 to Street Fighter 4 in my head. I think I just jumped, but go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I was going to say the Capcom has been releasing a lot of collections over the last several years. They started with doing Mega Man collections way back when. They've been doing Mega Man collections again, going through their series and stuff like that. They also did a beat 'em up collection not too long ago, which was absolutely fantastic. And they did the Fighting Collection 1. They've also done Street Fighter collections that you can get on several consoles. The thing that's important about these, at least from my perspective, is getting your hands on them lets you have access to games that are very, very difficult to get physical copies of anymore. And so in the case of this one with Capcom Fighting Collection 2, I pointed these two out because these are ones that I have not been able to find for the Dreamcast. And I'm one of those people, I slowly collect things, and Dreamcast was my favorite game system, probably of all time as far as consoles go. But Power Stone and Project Justice, which it may not seem like much, but Power Stone was a really fantastic, 3D virtual fighter style game back in the day. With
there's still nothing quite like Power Stone.
Yeah.
It's iconic.
It is a very iconic game, and especially in most 3D fighters, you only can have 1v1 or a team versus a team. And this one, it was 4 players. It was like a brawl arena done with virtual fighter style stuff with over the top action and combat. Finding a disc for it that is playable in my region is several hundreds of dollars if you can find one. So being able to grab a collection that has it and being able to play the game, because I want to actually just play the game, is super cool. And the same thing with Project Justice. Project Justice is a game that a lot of people don't even remember existed. But there was a game that Capcom put out called Rival Schools, and it was a team-based fighting game, very much like Marvel vs. Capcom, and that you saw later on. And this is just another game that was in that vein with over the top combos and stuff like that, that is just really, really hard to find. It also had something called the Party Up, which was not just 2 people, but 3 people attacking at the same time with weird combinations and powers. But I like when Capcom is reaching into like their backlog and pulling out these games and saying, yes, we'll digitize them. Yes, they'll make them available to you. Because the other problem is if you're into like ROMs or emulation, finding good copies of those games or making legal copies of your own. Again, I'm not in your house. I'm not going to tell you what to do or not to do. Can be problematic and time consuming to make sure you have the right version. And sometimes emulation is just bad. Certain games just run like absolutely terrible in emulation. Power Stone's one of them that I've had it on emulators in the past. It is very, very difficult to run on an emulator, especially even like a remotely decent emulator will maybe give you some like good play for it. But having something from Capcom that's made from modern systems, that's just, here's an executable. It's essentially them doing their own version of emulation. That makes it playable, that makes it better. And people have had hands on are like, yeah, this is great. I love when they do that. Like, this makes me very, very happy.
Yeah, it's funny because for me, the first time I noticed Capcom doing some of this stuff is all the way back in the far-flung past of 2013, when Capcom put out essentially a thing they called Chronicles of Mystara.
Yeah.
Which was a collection of multiple Dungeons and Dragons arcade games.
Yeah.
And it was, I think it was Tower of Doom and Shadow over Mystara. And the first reason that this is, to me, cool is that Mystara is the world of the original D&D box sets.
Yep.
And I loved Mystara. I got all the Gazetteer books when they came out. You barely know anything about it from these games. They're set there, but it's side-scrolling beat-em-ups with D&D characters. There's not a lot of lore involved, but it's still cool to see them. They were fun to play. I mean, they were just fun to play. It's not a role-playing game. It's just side-scrolling beat-em-up.
And it's unlimited RPG elements.
Extremely. But it's still fun to play. And it's one of the first times I saw Capcom doing this, and they've kept doing it. And I think it's one of the best things they've ever done.
Yeah, and technically that D&D collection existed before that too. They released it in 2005 as well.
Yeah, they did. They released a hard version of it in 2005, I believe.
Physical copy. Yeah.
But this one,
I want to say that's probably about when they started doing their collections, because I remember that was the year I graduated college was also the year that the X-Men, the first not X-Men, Mega Man collection came out.
Yeah.
Man, I snapped that up. So
PlayStation 2, I think, right?
PlayStation 2 and GameCube, because I had it for the GameCube.
God, the GameCube is still one of my favorite consoles.
It is. It is S tier for sure.
I'm going to mention really fast because this is something I think is cool. The Ubisoft apparently is releasing its an open source tool to allow developers easier tailoring of their games for colorblind players. As somebody who has vision problems, I'm always happy to see when everybody does this kind of thing. And quite frankly, Ubisoft, you owe us a lot of moves like this so that we stop viewing you as one step removed from being the devil. You really have a lot of room to grow here. So good job for once, I guess.
I'm really happy to see this from the flip side as a developer, because this is a really hard thing to account for people who aren't colorblind themselves. So it's really cool to see something like this. And also, given Ubisoft's business problems of late, it's really nice to see something like this didn't just disappear with Ubisoft.
And I want to make sure we don't sell this short, right? Because one, it's called Chroma, and it's going to go. It goes after the 3 major color blindness types, which is protanopia, deuteranopia, and tritanopia. But it works with all games. There is no dependency on any particular engine. And it doesn't just provide filters. It just provides filters that run over top the game to help with, those particular ones. And that covers a lot of people. It's not going to be perfect. And they're working with accessibility experts to refine the tool. But that's a huge step forward for accessibility. Yeah, it's open source. Especially good. Yeah, it's especially good because as you just said, it's open source and it's an overlay essentially. So you can work to incorporate this, or you can just create a filter for it. Either way, it's a good change. And the fact that it's open source means that nobody
has to worry about it.
And interesting enough, it was developed by Ubisoft's quality control team in India. So if you ever say quality control folks aren't real game developers, sod off, because here it is. Like, this is a huge thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one really big thing about this is that, see bigger developers adding colorblind modes to their games, but big developers. I mean, World of Warcraft has only had a colorblind mode. What was that added in Dragonflight? Maybe
I believe
no,
so.
It was before that, I thought.
Okay,
because I'm
underselling it.
I was using it. Yeah, but I was using it in Battle for Azeroth because Carapace gave me migraines, and I had to turn it on in order to stop whatever weird purple effect they were doing from causing me migraines.
But that's a big company. Blizzard Entertainment, big company. They've added it and improved it over the years. But look at how many games we're playing these days.
Patch 6.1.
Games we're playing from smaller developers, from indie developers. How many hours have you all put into Balatro in the past year, which was made by a single game developer? I'm currently playing Blueprints, which was a single game developer who eventually added more help, but spent several years working on the game completely alone. You could have these people have access to this tool because it's open source and it doesn't rely on any software compatibility issues. You can just fire this up, look at your game under these filters and be like, oh yeah, this interface element is just invisible to people with this kind of color blindness. I'll make a mode that makes that more visible. So this gives, it evens the playing field and gives everyone the option to add this accessibility feature. That's great.
Yeah, and it's like, as you've already mentioned, it's open source, but I'm going to tell you guys just how easy it is to get. It's just on GitHub. You can just go to GitHub now and download it. It's not even as big as most mods you get on GitHub. So, yeah, that's something that could be game-changing for people who are smaller developer teams or, single developers, because you now don't have to come up with, your own tool for this. That is really great. And I, as somebody with visual problems, I want to encourage that kind of thing. Speaking of patches and so forth that get downloaded, Baldur's Gate 3's last patch is currently out.
Yep.
And it's enormous. Patch 8 is big.
Yeah. I believe you're rating at 48 pages worth of patch notes.
Something like that, yeah.
12
new
120
subclasses. Gigs, I think.
Yeah, it's...
And Liz was talking...
Sorry, yeah, go ahead, Liz.
I mean, you're saying last patch, but I think there have been several patches that were announced as the last patch, so... You do wonder.
Well, yeah, but that's
last one for real, this time for real. Final_final.psd.
It's like Miyazaki continuing to say he's going to retire, and then he can't stay away.
Well, I mean, for that matter, I just segue into this other thing. Cyberpunk had its last patch supposedly last year, and then they put out 2 more patches, and now they're putting out something else with the Switch port coming. They're talking about possibly doing another content patch. So, yeah, the companies keep doing this. Larian really has no one to blame but themselves, because they're the ones who are like, yeah, we're not going to do any more development for it. We're done with this. At this point, we feel like it doesn't need DLC. And then clearly there was something going on there.
There might be another factor involved in that we're not considering, which is, again, while Larian is the developer for it, we don't know the nuts and bolts of the deal that they had with Wizards in terms of the IP. There may have been a lot of stuff that they wanted to do that they may have been restricted from, that maybe some of that stuff is being lifted or is no longer enforceable for whatever reason. Like adding those, they added 12 subclasses today, 12. And these are ones that people had been asking about, and you wonder, why did it take so long to put it in? Why they do it now? And part of it is wondering if they were limited to what they could put out before the new version of D&D came out, or if there was additional riders or something like that. And now that that's out, maybe they were just saying, okay, we can do this again. So we've been working on this in the background. We've been waiting. So let's just go ahead and do it. That could be a factor here as opposed to some of the other ones. CD Projekt Red, on the other hand, no idea. They honestly, just kind of march to the beat of their own drum.
I don't think that it's entirely inexplicable for Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red, because I honestly believe that they meant it when they said it. They did not expect Phantom Liberty to get the bump it did. They did not expect Edge Runners to provide them the bump that they did. And they didn't expect people to stick around. What's happened since Phantom Liberty is that their number of concurrent users hasn't declined. And it's been a year and a half. The game has continued to have people playing it pretty concurrently. And I think they realized they're not going to have another Witcher game till like 2026 at the earliest. And that's an incredibly optimistic estimate. And unlike Larian, which is off working on its new
Mystery
IP
project, yeah,
for pretty much in a vacuum, CD Projekt Red is being watched like a hawk because they don't have a new Witcher game coming until like 2026 at the earliest. And Cyberpunk Orion is, at this point, it's vaporware. No one knows what it is or when it's coming out. And they have like the independent developers working on Witcher-related projects. So to a certain degree, the game they have that people are playing right now is Cyberpunk. That's the game that they have people playing. That's the game where they can get people to on-road. So in a way, I feel like some of the statements from their new president when he came in, I think he came in earlier this year, some of the statements they've made have definitely made it feel like there's more coming. Did you guys see the weird little thing they released the other day where they had pictures of all the various NPCs from Cyberpunk, and then at the bottom they had 6 empty things, and they said, "Oh yeah, don't pay attention to that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge."
I mean, why wouldn't you keep developing for it in the meantime? If you know what you're doing, you have the everything set, you know what's going on with it, and you have time between other projects. I understand the whole concept of not taking resources away from the other projects, but
but when the other project isn't even past the let's sit around a table and talk about it stage, and you've got a team, you might as well use them. And also, like I said, they're putting out ads with big question marky type, wink, wink, nudge, nudge stuff saying, we're sure something's going to be going on here.
Yeah.
It feels like they're realizing that what they have, they don't have to have nothing for 2 years.
Well, I think part of it too, also it goes to community, and I want to bring this back to Baldur's Gate 3. I think also a factor about that is the community being such a major part of keeping the game alive, engaging with not just the voice actors and other people in the content and community, but like the amount of mods and love this game has received since it opened up is astronomical. There have been very few games that have had this prolific of a mod community, I guess would be the best word to say for it.
This is the most prolific mod community I've seen outside of any Bethesda game.
Yeah.
Because, although, let's be clear, when Bethesda community gets a lot of mods, it's because those people are fixing the game.
Almost always.
Like when Starfield has a relatively minor mod group in comparison to, say, Fallout 4, because Fallout 4 needed all those mods just to make it work. And I say that as someone who loved Fallout 4. I loved it, but it was a very Bethesda game. It required a lot of help. But yeah, Baldur's Gate 3, not only, I feel like Larian really did the idea of their community outreach correctly, in that they didn't talk down to them. They didn't make them feel like they were being patronized. They just sort of got out of the way and let them do whatever they were going to do. And I think that's a pretty good move in these kind of situations. I think people are kind of tired of being talked down to, especially by Wizards of the Coast in general. Not that we have time for going to all that. But yeah, at this point, I think I have to turn to Liz and get like up on my haunches like a little Rory Calhoun and say, hey, could you do that thing?
Hello, everyone. I want to give a special shout out to all of our supporters on Patreon. You guys are what keeps the site growing and surviving. We really rely on you guys. Even if you can only toss in $1 or $2 a month, it really helps. It's a lot of people giving a little bit of support that lets us keep going. So if you are able, and you could subscribe on patreon.com/BlizzardWatch. That helps us. We're a little under our Patreon level that we like to be at. We like to be at about $4,000, and right now we're at $3,800 and change. So we're trying to get that up a tiny bit if you were able to support us. I understand if you can't, but if you can, patreon.com/BlizzardWatch. At $3, you get early access to these podcasts, as well as the exclusive pre-show to the Blizzard Watch podcast, where this week it was mostly anime. So if you want to talk Gundams and anime, that's the place. You also get these podcasts early and ad-free, which I think I just said, except I derailed myself. And wow, words. What is happening to me? If you subscribe at $5 a month, you also get the access to the site ad-free, which is great. I know ads are kind of a necessary evil in the world, but $5 a month, ads-free on the site. And if you can't do any of those things, that's okay. Reading the site helps us. Listening to these podcasts helps us. Liking, sharing any of our content helps us. You can also follow us on social media where we post all of this stuff as well as clips of the podcast, which I have been having a lot of fun making and spending a little too much time combing through the podcast for the best little micro snippets to share with you. So you can follow us on Blue Sky, Mastodon at gamepad.club, Threads, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as Blizzard Watch, and we are Blizzard Watch Podcasts on YouTube. We also have a survey going on right now that is going to be used to help us improve the podcast and is also going to be used to help our advertisers figure out if they want to advertise on the podcast. So a little both. If you can or want to participate in that, the surveys are completely anonymous. Just go to bit.ly /Blizzard Watch Podcast -survey. That's bit.ly /Blizzard Watch Podcast -survey. If you have time to fill that out, it really helps us. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. That's it.
Yay. Thank you guys. Unfortunately, I don't think we have time for questions. I'm sorry, guys. It's my fault.
I don't know how we keep doing this.
Yeah, we talk too much. We're just
We're just gonna need Blizzard to take like a really slow news week where there is no news in any game, and then we can just do all questions.
Liz makes a statement. I need topics. Then we provide topics.
This was in fact a slow news week. There's not a whole lot. I mean, Diablo 3 on Game Pass. That's not.
Normally we might not mention that. Yeah.
It's not headline news. It's neat, but it's not like top of the news list. If this were next week, a story like this would not have gone on the list.
Gotcha. But regardless, guys, we do appreciate getting those questions. If you do want to send one to us, we've covered how you can do that, but you can go to Patreon and ask us there. You can ask us on Discord. We have 2 Discord channels for people who want to ask us questions. There's the Patron Q and Podcast Questions channel for our patron supporters, and there's just the Q and Podcast Questions channel for everybody, because we do like getting questions, and there have been many times in the past where we've done nothing but do questions. It just depends on what the week is like. Regardless, this has been the Blizzard Watch Podcast. Thank you so much for Phil for being our fourth wheel this time around, because we're not actually a tricycle. I'm sorry, Phil, I spoke over you. I didn't mean to.
I was gonna say I love keeping the extra seat warm.
Yeah. It does actually help quite a bit because Corey gets mean when he's cold. It's kind of scary to be up here in Canada knowing Corey could get me at any moment. Also, thank you so much to Liz and Joe for basically being the reason that this show ever happens. You guys do all the work, and I just show up and yammer on for a while, and then I leave, and you guys do all the work again. So thank you to both of you.
You're welcome. Happy to be here on this podcast.
And finally, thank you to all of your listeners, because without you guys, it's just the 4 of us talking on Discord, and kind of the 3 of them do that every day. Like they practically live on Discord with each other because they're in a guild together. I barely show up, but regardless, thank you all so much. This has been the Blizzard Watch Podcast, and we'll be back next week.